We have future or potential West Virginia legends leaving the program. We have actual living West Virginia legends coming back home to the program and everything in between. And we're going to talk about it all on this episode of Couz's Corner, which is brought to you by BetUS Online Sportsbook and Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner Attorneys at Law. We're also going to talk about the fan reaction to the player who's leaving the program. And we'll have that conversation and much more right after this. Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident or fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. What is up? Welcome into another episode of Couz's Corner. I'm your host, Couz, in case you're new here. On tap in today's episode, we're talking about wide receiver Hudson Clement leaving the West Virginia football program and the vitriol and the fan reaction that has followed that announcement and that official news that he's not only leaving West Virginia, but has already signed, apparently, with the University of Illinois in the Big Ten. We'll talk about that. And in segment 2 of the show, we'll talk about players who have announced their return to WVU. And then in segment 3, we'll talk about some coaching and staff changes, including a legend returning to West Virginia. So let's jump right into the Hudson Clement conversation. Hudson Clement went on social media yesterday, and I'm recording this on Friday, January 3rd. He went on social media yesterday to announce this. He says, "Thank you, West Virginia. I just want to take a second to thank WVU for allowing me to showcase what I'm capable of and helping me grow as a football player and as a man. Huge thanks to Coach Lau, Coach Brown, Coach Scott, and Coach Mike Joe. These guys made me the player I am today. Would like to thank the support staff also for helping me so much. Big shout out to all my teammates I played with at WVU. Y'all my brothers for life. Even though I'll be continuing my career elsewhere, I will always have a special place in my heart for WVU. With that being said, I hope everyone can respect my decision. This was best for me and my family, and I will continue my career at Illinois. Thank you, West Virginia University." So that came out not long after some fans were complaining that, hey, Hudson didn't even say bye, didn't even give us a goodbye message or anything, right? Well, he puts this out. And there was still some vitriol, some fans who were not happy about him leaving and quite honestly went after him on social media. Look, I'm not happy about it either. But some of these fan comments are way over the top here, okay? Way over the top. Then he goes on with some of the fan comments coming out. He makes it worse for himself by putting out this tweet. "Folks want me to do what makes them happy, not what's best for me. Y'all don't know me and don't know what I've been through. Never chased a bag, always chased better opportunities." Whatever that means. "Appreciate the ones who helped me get here, but I don't owe no one anything." And boy, did that just make it worse. Hudson, young man, I know you meant well. That was not a good idea because, man, it just got worse from there. Some of these comments, I'm not going to read them all, but one says, "Didn't chase the bag when you walked on?" Question mark. This is literally your first chance to chase a bag, and you did it. It's fine, but own that crap. This is some soft edge crap. Better off at Illinois. Adam Baum, great one here, short and sweet. "People are mad because they loved you." And that's exactly the point I want to make here in just a minute. Let's go on and talk about some more. It says, "I hope the money was worth it." Here's a picture of Vince McMahon smelling money. One says, "Okay, TikTok boy, now leave the state and don't come back. Surely you'll refund the folks who bought your NL jersey at WVU then, right?" I mean, it goes on, and man, the comments were something else. But this one by Adam Baum really sums it up for me. And the reason I think fans are upset, it's not because we think Hudson Clement yes, he was a good player. But it's not because he was, we thought he was going to be the next Tavon Austin or the next Stedman Bailey or whatever. but it's because he was one of us. We thought he was one of us. Remember, his walk-on story was something special. He was a native West Virginian who walked on at West Virginia, did things the hard way, played his butt off to earn a scholarship. It resonated with West Virginia fans, right? So we embraced that. That's the kind of stories we love here at West Virginia, right? There were rumors, all kinds of rumors out there that he was offered a certain amount of NIL money from West Virginia, but turned it down and asked for a lot more, yada, yada. Look, I've heard from some sources that he did not ask for $800,000. And I've also heard that he did not get offered $400,000 from West Virginia. Okay. Those numbers, don't believe everything you read on social media. Okay. But I'm sure he's probably going to make more NIL money. There's also a rumor that his brother Murphy, who was a walk-on at West Virginia, was getting a scholarship at Illinois. I haven't confirmed that, but it's a rumor. And that he was also getting a little bit of NIL money himself. So maybe he wanted to, maybe going there was not only best for Murphy, but was also best for his brother. Hudson, but also best for his brother Murphy. I don't know all the story. We don't know the whole story. That's why we probably should not go after the young man on social media like this. I know it hurts. It hurt me. It hurt him leaving hurt more than any other player, including C.J. Donaldson, because he was one of us. He was a West Virginia native, went to Martinsburg High School. But when you look at the whole backstory here, here's why I think we're overreacting. Number one, I don't think he and Rich Rodriguez hit it off. The rumor is that he and Rich Rod talked, just wasn't a great fit, so he had to move on. Maybe he's not a fit for Rich Rod's system. I don't know. We weren't in the room to hear the conversation. Number one. Two, Hudson Clement was not born and bred in West Virginia. He did not even move to West Virginia with his family until I think he was middle school or high school age. He's only been in West Virginia 6, 7, 8 years or something like that. He's originally, I think, from Michigan. Look, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Michigan he's from. So he's not a native of West Virginia anyway. So he probably didn't have that lifelong tie to the West Virginia Mountaineers and the Flying WV that some of our other native players have had, like the Zach Frazier's and the Wyatt Milums and the Doug Nessers. It may have been different for him. I think that matters too. And what I don't want us to do, and again, like I said, I didn't like it either. I didn't like the decision he made. I wanted him to stay. Don't like our own people abandoning us, and that is what it feels like. But at the same time, we don't want to be like the Oklahoma fans out there who have cried and moaned about Zach Alley leaving and have talked crap about him when he left and talked bad about West Virginia. Let's not be like them. Let's not be like the Oklahoma fans and feel like it's sour grapes. Let's not have sour grapes. I'm not saying you've got to wish him well. I'm not saying you've got to want him to do well. I'm not saying you even have to bring up his name. But let's not make threats or say bad things about him or wish ill will against him or any of that stuff. That's just not it's not us. It's not who we are. Okay? Let's not stoop to that level. That's all I ask. You don't have to cheer for the young man. I'm not asking you to cheer for him. I'm not going to cheer for him. But I also don't want to see the young man. I don't want to see him, get injured or anything like that either. You know what I'm saying? So let's tone down the rhetoric. Let's not be like Oklahoma fans. Let the young man move on. And you know what? Let Rich Rod find somebody even better to replace him, because that's what can happen here. There has to be a reason Rich Rod let him walk. Do you think Rich Rod would have let him walk if he thought he was going to be a star in his system? Probably not. So let's just calm down, take a breath, let the young man move on, and let us move on to hopefully the next best thing. Okay? Now, topic 2. There was some good news that have come out about some players staying at West Virginia that we're going to talk about in the next segment. But first, I want to remind you that if you're looking for a brand new sports book, look no further than our good friends over at BetUS. Right now, BetUS is offering a promotion where you get a 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit with promo code YouTube150. Again, promo code YouTube150, 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and 125% on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. Make sure if you do play that you please do so responsibly. And if you need help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER to get that help. And you must be 18 years of age or older to play. Now let's get back to the show. Topic 2 we're going to talk about. Several players have come out on social media and announced that they were going to come back to the West Virginia program. And I'm going to pull up some of these announcements here, which were shared by the West Virginia football site. Here we go. Now, the first one, Edward Vestorinen, defensive tackle who, remember, took a red shirt this year after being injured in game 2 of the season. It's a huge piece on this defensive line. It's a veteran presence that could be very helpful on the defensive line. But Edward Vestorinen says, the place I belong, he's coming back, baby. He's coming back. This is a great place to start. Every football team is built from the trenches out, right? This defensive line so far looks like it's going to be pretty solid. Now, we could lose some guys in the spring, and we are losing Sean Martin to graduation. We're losing Fatorma Mulba to graduation, and we're losing T.J. Jackson. All 3 guys were major contributors. Sean Martin was a multi-year starter. T.J. Jackson led the team in sacks and tackles for loss. But having a veteran presence like Vestorinen back, along with people like Hammond Russell and others, Sonny Redwood, Corey McIntyre, who was likely going to get a lot of snaps this past season before getting injured, he'll be back. A great nucleus to build on the defense for Zach Alley here with Eddie and these other guys coming back. So that's great news. The other player, or the second player rather, is Rodney Gallagher. Now, most of us thought Rodney would be coming back, but he officially announced it today. He says, 24 will be back, #HellWV. So Rodney Gallagher, who I think would be a great fit in Rich Rod's system in that slot position, could he be the next Darius Raynaud? Could he be the next Jock Sanders? Not going to even go there and say he's the next Tavon Austin, but could he be the next Raynaud or Jock Sanders or that type of player? I think he can be. So, and Gallagher is going to give that a shot, and he's planning to come back for the 2025 season. And then the third and final player we want to talk about, in my opinion, the biggest one yet, or at least right next to Nico Marchiol, which I talked about in a previous video, is Jahiem White. Goes to Twitter and says, ready to run in this offense. Excited to be back for the 25 season. Let's go Mountaineers. #Big League Backs. #Hard Edge at WVU football. Jahiem White, I'm telling you, I've said it multiple times. I think every fan agrees. He could absolutely break out and be an absolute superstar. The next Steve Slayton. The next Noel Devine, who ironically we'll talk about here in a little bit. Jahiem White has all the makings to me of a perfect running back for a Rich Rodriguez offense. And he has the opportunity, and he's going to take that opportunity in 25 to showcase that talent. This excites me. Again, Marchiol announced yesterday he was coming back. I'll link to the show I talked about that at the end of this video. But Marchiol's coming back. Jahiem White's coming back. Rodney Gallagher's coming back. And on the defensive side, Edward Vestorinen has announced he's coming back. So some big announcements over the last couple of days that are going to be great building blocks for Coach Rod and this staff to build on. And speaking of the staff, the next part of the show, the next segment, we're going to talk about some staff announcements that were made today. One that will really excite Mountaineer Nation and some others as well. But before we get into that, I want to remind you that I have a merch store. I haven't talked about it a whole lot here on the show as of late, but right now there's a sale going on in that merch store between January 1st and January 6th. You get a 25% off discount in my merch store. And if you're a club level member, I will leave you a link to another merch store where you get even a steeper discount. But everybody gets 25% off the merch store through January 6th. Get yourself a West Virginia versus the World shirt or merch. Get yourself something with the Couz's Corner logo on it. A lot of options to choose from. Take advantage of that offer today if you want some merch. Now, third segment I want to talk about, coaching and staff updates. The biggest one of the day is in regards to a West Virginia legend, none other than Noel Devine. Mike Ostie, got to give him credit. He was the first one out of the gate with this. Goes on Twitter and says, source, WVU legend Noel Devine is joining the WVU football staff. Devine ran for 4,315 yards and scored 29 touchdowns as a Mountaineer. He also made 98 receptions and racked up 710 more yards as a receiver. Devine also went to social media, announced it himself as well, put out a tweet and says, blessing to be in this position, a prayer that's been answered for sure. Looking forward to learning and working hard to helping build the culture and tradition Coach Rod instilled in me and former players at WVU. And according to Matt Zenitz, he's going to be an analyst on the offensive staff at West Virginia. Now, a little side caveat to this is Noel's son, Andre, was actually a player for Coach Rod at Jacksonville State. So it'll be interesting to see if he follows dad and comes to West Virginia. Be a great legacy player. I don't know. He's very fast like his dad. Don't know much else about the young man, but it would be awesome to have another Devine on the roster. Nonetheless, it's always cool to have legacy talent on the roster. Now, let me know what you think in the comments about that. But some other staff announcements were made today as well. Most notably, the new GM, Drew Fabianich, and it appears that the entire recruiting staff is out at West Virginia. And now this recruiting staff did a great job keeping the 2025 class intact. We remember talking about that. Despite Neil Brown being fired, they were able to keep almost the entire recruiting class intact and even flip a couple people. But that entire recruiting staff, apparently based on what is being reported, is out. And that includes GM Drew Fabianich, who, was with the program a couple of years. Maybe the verdict's still out on how good of a job he did, but some of the players that were brought in from the portal last year underperformed. Let's face it. And he was in charge of that, is my understanding. So to me, moving on from him, not necessarily a terrible idea. The other staff members, however, I thought did a great job, especially those who were over the high school recruiting, but Rich Rod may have a different philosophy, may want to do things differently. So he's obviously going to bring in some of his own people. And I totally get that, and I'm perfectly okay with that. But let's look at a Matt Zenitz announcement here. Another Matt Zenitz announcement regarding West Virginia. He says, West Virginia is expected to hire Oklahoma assistant GM Chuck Lilly as its new general manager under new head coach Rich Rodriguez. A source tells at CBS Sports at 24/7 Sports. Before Oklahoma, Lilly worked in the personnel department at Kansas State for 4 years. And then, of course, here's a picture of Lilly. And I reached out to a Kansas State friend of mine, friend of the show, Mr. John Kurtz. I'm sure most of you know John, to ask him his opinion on Lilly. And here's what he had to say. He says, I love Chuck Lilly. First of all, he's a great guy. I used to chat with him from time to time. Second, I know he's really highly thought of. K-State was really bummed to lose him. He came up through Clemson with BV before he got the job at K-State. I believe he was huge in helping elevate K-State recruiting. He was there for the 2023 class. That's the best we've had in a long time. That's the same class that Avery Johnson, the current quarterback, was in, the 4-star quarterback all of us West Virginia fans remember from this past season. He was part of the staff that helped recruit Avery Johnson in that 2023 class. That's one of the best in K-State history. So he apparently is a very, very young up-and-comer in the recruiting world and evaluating talent and recruiting talent. I'm not sure if he'll be, I'm not sure what his GM role will be. Is the GM role now going to include managing the NIL? Is it going to be, dealing with the, revenue distribution when it starts next year? If it starts next year, not sure. I'm sure there'll be more announced about that in the future, but at least from the roster management side, he seems to be a budding superstar. And it looks like West Virginia is getting more than just Zach Alley from Oklahoma. Now, I reached out to an Oklahoma person I know as well, and they basically said that he was young but up and coming front office guy, was a recruiting analyst at K-State, worked closely with Jake Rosenberg and Brent Venables in scouting talent. Says he could be good or could be a dud as a GM. Says not sure. Really depends on what our structure is going to be, or what West Virginia structure is going to be when the House settlement ends. He probably will focus on roster management. And if that's the case, then I think this is a great pickup. He obviously has success there. He's obviously had great success doing that in his past, in his previous stops. So I think that's a great thing. So again, let me know in the comments what you think about picking up Chuck Lilly. And last but not least, we've got to talk about some more coaching additions. It was officially announced that William Green will be coming over as defensive line coach. We've known that now for a week or two now, but it was officially announced today by the university. And then it was also announced that Ryan Garrett will be coming over as a wide receivers coach. I think that announcement actually came out yesterday. Ryan Garrett will be following Rich Rod from Jacksonville State to be the receivers coach. So we have a receivers coach, an inside receivers coach in Blaine Stewart, running backs coach in Chad Scott. We have DC Zach Alley. We have DL defensive line coach William Green, and there'll be other announcements coming down the road. We still haven't heard anything about a secondaries coach. We haven't heard anything about, what position Jeff Castile will be coaching on the defensive side of the ball. It's assumed Zach Alley will be coaching inside linebackers. Is that going to be confirmed? A lot of other position, the Jack Bicknell offensive line hiring, I don't think has been announced yet. If it was, I missed it. So there are a lot of official announcements still to come, but it looks like most of the positions on the offensive side of the ball have been filled. Quarterback coach hasn't been announced yet. The assumption is it will be Rhett Rodriguez, Coach Rod's son. And then who will he hire as his offensive coordinator? Is it someone who's coaching in the playoffs right now? Is that why it hasn't been announced? So keep an eye out for that. But let me know what you think about these topics, about Hudson Clement leaving, about the fan backlash to that. Let me know what you think about the players who decided to stay at West Virginia. And then let me know about these new coaching additions, including the addition of Noel Devine as an analyst for the offensive staff. Don't forget about my sponsors, BetUS Online and Cats Counter, Stone Street, and Buckner Attorneys at Law. They help me keep the lights on. Also help me keep the lights on are my VIP channel members. Did not do a shout out in this episode, but thank you to all of you who are VIP members. If you want to be a paid VIP member, hit the join button below or go to my channel homepage. Hit the join button there. There's also a link in the description box. Please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, the subscribe button, the comments. All that helps the algorithm. Also share it with your friends. Tell everybody you know to subscribe to Couz's Corner. Everybody that would enjoy the content anyway. Anybody who would enjoy this content, please make sure you tell them about me so that they can help me get to 10,000 subs. And don't forget about my West Virginia basketball channel, Hoops from the Hills, where I'm covering West Virginia basketball all season long. So come over there and support that as well if that's your thing. Appreciate you tuning in. Hope the rest of your day is absolutely top shelf and Q Country Roads.